Practice logs. We all know we're supposed to keep them if we want to be better musicians. What gets measured gets improved, as they say. But with so many different kinds, how can you know what is best for you? In this video, we're going to go over a few different kinds and which ones work best in different scenarios. Hi friends, welcome back. I'm Elisha and on this channel, we talk about ways to level up as a musician. Today, I want to talk about practice logs. What a nerdy thing to say, Elisha. I know. I accepted my nerdiness a long time ago. When it comes to practice logs, there are so many ways to do it. It doesn't matter what kind of practice log you keep, but I do think it matters that you keep one in general. Now, let's be real here. Keeping up with one is not easy. It's a dreamy idea to have a journal where you write endless pages about the 7 hours that you practiced that day, but that simply doesn't happen. So in this video, we're going to talk about the 3 different levels of practice logs that I have personally used, and then a bonus practice log for teachers who want to get their students to practice more. Level 1 is a habit tracker. The first kind of practice log is simply a habit tracker, a binary way of tracking. You did it or you did not. It doesn't matter what you did or how long you did it. We're only keeping track of yes or no. It happened or it didn't. The benefits of this is that it's easy. It takes no time. You literally click a button or you check off the check mark on your piece of paper and you're done. And keeping a streak can be very motivating. A way to use this system but level it up a little bit is to track specific habits in categories. Some examples would be scales, repertoire, technical studies, sight reading, etudes, things like that. Each day you just click on a checklist and it keeps you on track. Now the downside to this method is you don't get very much detail and you can't measure your progress as easily. It's also very rigid. It doesn't give you the flexibility to focus on different things on different days. As far as executing this system, there's a few different ways to do it. You can do it with paper and pencil using tallies, or you can use an app. The habit tracking app that I use is called Done. I love the aesthetic, it's super sleek and simple to use, and it does its job really well. I bought it a few years ago for like $10, I think, which is kind of steep when you think about apps, but the value I've gotten from the app has definitely paid for itself. You definitely don't need this one specifically. There's so many apps out there that will do the job. A quick hack if you find yourself getting frustrated that you're losing your streaks if you don't practice every single thing every single day is to change them from daily habits to weekly habits. Let's say I want to practice sight reading twice a week, my technical etudes 4 times a week, and then my repertoire 6 times a week. This takes away the pressure of daily achievement, and it'll help me last in the long term instead of getting burnt out from losing motivation because I can't keep a streak. Level 2 is a practice journal. The step up from tracking it as a habit would be to keep a simple journal. This leaves a lot of flexibility for what you want to track. This is the method that I used my sophomore year, which was my last year as a trumpet major. It served me really well. I wish I had it to show you because it was precious, but I think I threw it out in my move because I can't find it. Basically, I had code names for the different exercises I would do each day, so I didn't have to write them out in its entirety. And I would use different colors to code which instruments I was practicing. That way I could see at a glance what instrument I practiced the most and therefore what my focus was that day. Instead of different instruments, you could use this for different categories within your same instrument. So like we were talking about earlier with sight reading, scales, etudes, and repertoire. Then in the margin of the notebook, I would write a happy face or an angry face or a sad face, depending on how I felt about that practice session. The downside to this method is that it can get really disorganized really quickly. There's also no accountability with a streak that you want to keep up, so there's no motivation to practice every single day. I really like how simple this method is, and there's almost no tension to write everything down. It takes time and you have to have the notebook with you, but that's literally it. Level 3 is a Notion database. If you really want to up your practicing game, try setting up a Notion database or Excel sheet. This is what I did my senior year, and the benefits were insane. I recommend this method if you have a specific goal that you're working toward, like a jury or a recital or a competition or an audition. The more detailed you want to be in preparation for this event, the more Notion can help with this. The setup, of course, can be tailored to your specific goals and needs, but in general, this is what I would recommend. Have a column for your date, category, goals, duration, and accomplishments. the category. You can use this for the different instruments you want to practice like I do, or you can use tags like we talked about earlier: technique, etudes, scales, fundamentals, sight reading, and repertoire. It's what I would do at the end of one practice session. I would write my goals for the next day. The duration was important to keep me on track because as a music student, I need to make sure that I'm hitting my time goal that I set for myself. But this section is not necessary if you don't care how long you practice for. Accomplishments are important to list so you can see things build on each other day after day. This is a simplified version of one way you can do it. There's a more complex way to do this, like I used to do. There was linked databases and each day was its own page, but it's a little bit more complicated and lengthy than we have time to get into today. If you'd like, you can download this template by clicking the link below. If you're a music teacher, chances are you want your students to practice. If you're teaching privately, you'll notice, especially at the beginning, students don't really know how to practice. This does not make them a bad student. If you notice that they aren't practicing consistently, put more emphasis on how to practice. Give them techniques and tools to help them succeed. I'm very passionate about this because I've seen so many teachers badger their students and make them feel bad about themselves simply because they don't know how to practice. They just don't know what they're doing. So don't be that guy. Help your students learn how to practice and keep a practice log for themselves. One of the simplest methods you can use to help your students practice is to set a goal and then track it in a way that takes almost zero effort. Here's how I did it with my elementary aged students. I would write the date of the lesson on the top of the page of the song they're supposed to practice. Then in the lesson, after they play it for me, I would make a tally mark. I would tell them to make 5 tally marks every day when they practiced the song. And when I come back next week, I want to see the page filled with tallies. Now, this would really motivate them. I'd come back the next week and there would be hundreds of tallies all over the page, and they would be so excited to show me how much they practiced. They were proud of the work that they could see that they had done. And it forms the habit of doing something consistently and tracking how you do it. It's a really simple way of keeping a practice log. All they need is the piece that they're going to practice anyway and a pencil to make the tally marks. And there you have it. These are some methods of keeping a practice log to level up your practicing game. If you enjoyed this video, you might like my video where I talk about my performance log. Tracking your performances is just as important as tracking your practicing, if you ask me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.